Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Abe with Mystic Gen Mara, a small town mystic in the middle of Idaho. And tonight is a new moon. It's the start of the next lunar cycle. So what does that mean energetically and mystically for you personally? The new moon energy and influences new beginnings and new creations. If you're looking to start a new hobby, a new business, a new business idea, a new project at home, sometimes starting a new family, this is the time to set those intentions to really get that momentum of a new beginning tied into it. And usually when you look at new moon energy, you're looking at energy of stuff that you would like to create, or at least get the ball rolling on in the next 14 days or so, because you want to have it be either fully ready to be manifested by the full moon or well on its way so that it can plow through the waning moon energy after that. And this is also a time during the new moon for self-reflection. And in the last 2 weeks, we've been coming out of that waning moon cycle. We've been releasing stuff that's not helping us. You may have felt, because I know I did, you may have felt a little bit tired or a little bit drained, maybe not in the best mental state or best mood all the time. And, we're going into the winter season where it's getting darker, and so that last 2 weeks could have been a little bit heavy just because of the energy. And the moon was, in her waning cycle as well. So, sorry, I lost my place. But once you've done all that releasing, this is the time where you want to kind of reevaluate where you're at. It's time to check in to see how far you've come. And since we're at that time of the year where we just had Yule, we're moving into the calendar new year that we have today. That's coming up in like a week. And you've got Christmas, so it's a lot of these energies are coming forward, and it's really time to check in. How far did you come in the last year? What have you gotten accomplished in the last year? And look at it in a positive way, like, well, I got started on this and I got this far along, so I didn't quite reach my goal, but I can see it, so I'm just going to keep plowing forward with that one. And this is where I huge advocate for journaling, because when you have the journal, then when you do your self-reflections periods, you can go back and see, well, that's where I was at then, and this is where I'm at now, and wow, look how I actually got farther than I thought I did, things like that. And it's a way to put the cool stuff that you've manifested, because a lot of the times, and this is just my personal thing, when I will write stuff down is positive affirmations, setting intentions, building vision boards and things like that. I'll put them up, do your focusing and all the right things, and then after that year is up, or that month, or however long you've chosen to keep it up for, you put it away and then you forget about it completely. Like, I'm notorious for finding stuff weeks if not months later and being like, oh yeah, I just had that happen. And so if you don't have it journaled or you don't have it recorded somewhere, you won't realize just how much cool stuff you have actually helped co-create in your life. Because we're the ones that set our intentions, we're the ones that set the goals, and then the universe steps in to work with us. And so it's a matter of, we have to make those decisions for the universe to come in, divine source, God energy to come in and help us along. So it's nice to have the notes just for our, the monkey mind, our computer programming up here, to be able to see it in real time. Something to be aware of, just something to think about. New moon energy is always a pause. It's like a deep breath, that sigh, before the next upswing in energy. So being a little tired even now is kind of common. The big takeaway I have with all of this is, be gentle with yourself. Understand this down period is only for a short time. Everything cycles. Going back to the tarot card of the wheel, there's ups, there's downs, there's ups, there's downs. We're always in a cyclical process, and this is just a little bit of a quiet period. So Take the time, be gentle, don't get frustrated. I know that's easier said than done, but it's something to think about. Each new moon carries different energy that can affect the overall frequency from that moon. And, sorry, it all depends on which planets are aligned with each other, and it also works with the zodiac sign that just happens to be dominant at the time. And so this is my way of trying to educate myself more in astrology, so bear with me as I stumble through this. This particular new moon in December 23, 2022, toss the date out there so we have an idea if you watch this later, is in the sign of Capricorn, a very earth-grounded sign. I believe it's for the front part's a goat and the back part's a fish of some form. It's a weird-looking sign. And for the longest time, to be honest with you, I couldn't associate it with earth, and I still struggle with it because you have the goat, which would be, to me, more associated with air, because if you've ever noticed, goats want to be on top of everything. But then you have the fish tail, which would be in the water. So how they come up with earth, I don't know. But that's where we're at. This energy does, because it is an earth-related sign, helps you find grounding, allowing you to focus on long-term future. Let me grab a drink. Allowing you to focus on the long-term future and the practical steps to take to move forward towards that future that you've planned out. This jovial and supportive planet of Jupiter, though, is really riding high at this point, and it's working really closely with this moon. The alignment is really impressive when I looked at some of the charts, just from different astrologers. They're all a lot of them have talked about how Jupiter is really bringing forward its positive, happy energy, and that's great. And it's helping us to see the positive path ahead, and it's also giving us a lot of energy to work with to set these bigger intentions, to work towards these larger goals, to really plan some stuff out moving forward. That being said, there are things to be aware of, especially when you have Jupiter being a little overbearing, which is kind of how it looks like right now. I understand the Roman deities as the planets, so for me it's a little bit easier to associate that way. That's why I can work with the planet energy easier than I can the astrology part of it. It's just, it's how I learned. Let's just go there. Jupiter tends to be a little bit on the pushy side because the energy is so positive. It's like that really happy-go-lucky hyper friend, almost, if you ever watch the TV show Friends. Jupiter's kind of the Phoebe. Oh, it's great, let's just do it, la-di-da-di-da, and bounces around. It's very supportive, but it's super hyper, and it's also kind of pushy. So you've got the grounding Capricorn trying to help you make your plans. Just take a breath when you start to feel that, oh, I'm rushed, I'm overwhelmed. Take the breath, bring yourself back down, work a grounding pattern of some form, and allow yourself to refocus. Jupiter's really helpful, but it's, like I said, it's that hyper puppy energy where it's like, okay, I appreciate it, but calm down for just a second. I need to be able to breathe. Also, and this is one that always is a little bit weird to me, because Mars, it doesn't go into retrograde very often, but when it does, it seems to hang out there for a minute. And with Mars, if you are, well, masculine male, or you have a lot of fire energy in your charts, understand that this is going to be a little bit of a turbulent time, because Mars is, by the way retrograde works, it's technically moving backwards, not forwards. And when that happens, the energy tends to get a little sluggish, where Mars is really about the fiery starts, and let's burn things along, let's develop that passion, let's plow through, let's go, let's go, let's go. Right now it's like, let's go over there. Oh, no, I mean over there. Which direction do I want to go? So it's a little bit confused energy coming from Mars right now. But that doesn't mean you can't work the long term. It just means that the more immediate plans could be a little jumbled, just as a heads up. So you really want to look at the long term and focus on what are the next steps to that long term goal. You can work on some shorter period stuff, but the Capricorn energy and the way the planets are aligned are all moving towards this bigger picture energy. And from everything that I was reading, again, I am not an astrologist. I am trying to understand more about this. There's like 5 different planets that are coming forward, and they're all clustered around within the Capricorn energy right now. Jupiter being the most dominant one from what I was finding out. But there's also like Neptune, Mercury zipping around in there, and there's one other one. Anyway, so you've got a lot of different energies, but they're all very positive and very let's move forward. And that's where Capricorn's like, calm down. Let's think about this logically. Don't go jumping off of ledges. Let's just, what do we got? Where are we headed? What's the next step? How can we make this happen? So really work with that energy, understanding that there's a lot of push to work with you and being, positive for that. And this new beginning energy, with the new moon, is coming on the heels of the winter solstice, or Yule, which was on Wednesday the 21st. There's a great deal of quote-unquote set your long-term intentions energy right now. So you've got this build-up going on, and we've got the new year starting, like I said, in a week. So there's this shifting of New Year's resolutions and plans, and this is the time period. There's a lot going on in life. I'm 100% aware of that. I've got a busy weekend myself, so I get that. But I guess what I'm bringing forward is this is the time to really start making some of those intentions. Even if it's like you're in the middle of cooking dinner, you got 10 minutes, scribble some ideas in your journal, close it, put it away, and keep going. So you just, as things come through, because honestly, you can get a lot of ideas and intentions by just being in the kitchen. I was in the kitchen for hours yesterday, and I was in the kitchen this morning already. And it's funny because as you're working, like kneading dough for bread, or you're making a dessert, or just baking in general, because that's what I like to do, there's a lot of quiet time with that. And so if you're working something like that, have your journal sitting there, and as a thought runs through it, scribble it down just so you can have a little bit of an idea of what direction you're heading. Just an idea. The big takeaway through all of this chaos, with all this vibey energy coming forward, and the grounding Capricorn trying to keep it all in place, is keep yourself grounded as well. We in the north right now are having some exceptionally chilly temperatures. And like for me, it was almost -10 in the valley I live in right now last night, with wind chill and all that nonsense. It was brutal last night. So going outside and grounding through touching soils, probably not going to work for you. But if you have, take a salt bath, that's a way to ground your energy. You can hold crystals, especially more calming ones. Things like, as weird as it sounds, things like granite, obsidian, slate. If you have a piece of slate, put your feet on it, like a slate coffee table, put your feet on that. But you can hold quartz and amethyst. They're all kind of stabilizing energies. They're not hyperactive, which is the last thing you need with all these energies between the holidays and the planets going all crazy. But find a way to help bring your energy down and ground into that more logical state. And the other part, when you're sitting down and you're kind of working on your plans, if you get the time to, make sure to do a grounding exercise first. That way you can really work with that grounding, planning Capricorn long-term energy, and you don't get led into the amazingly beautiful fairy tale world that the outer planets are feeding you. And that's fine. Having those kind of fantasies and those kind of goals is awesome, but if you don't have logical steps towards those goals, you're kind of setting yourself up to not be as happy as you'd like to be with the outcome. So work on the positive outcome and logical steps. And that's what you're kind of working with in this energy time. So some journal ideas. some journal questions. You can come back to this point in the video and write them down whenever you choose. And these are just some of the ones that I work with when I work with new moon energy. Is number one, what direction do I want to go in this coming year? What are your plans? Just a general overview. What do I want to do this next year? Number two, and there's 3 parts to this one. What are my long-term goals? This does not have to be within a year. It could be, your long-term could be 6 months. It could be over the next 5 years. What are my long-term goals in the following 3 categories? A, my finances. B, my home life, relationships, friends, all of the above. And number 3, or C, sorry, is what are my spiritual pursuits long-term going forward? And those are usually the 3 areas that I will start to really hone in my goals. I'll have a main goal, then I'll have these 3 areas that I break it down into. And this is how I usually set up my vision boards. This is how I do New Year's stuff. And I will talk about vision boards in a future video, just not today. And then the third question that I usually ask myself is, what are the logical steps I can take towards each of these goals? So you'll have the big goal, then you'll have the 3 sub goals, and then you underneath each one you'll just note down a couple of steps. You really only need to have 2 or 3 steps that you can logically take. Like, I'll take this step then, and when I reach that point, then I can take the next step. If you only have that, it gives you a lot more leeway, as the divine will guide you to complete the steps and kind of show you this is your overall goal. And as you're moving along, well, that step didn't work. Once you get to the next, you finish like step 2, the step 3 that you had originally written down doesn't work anymore. That's where you have that divine influence that will help guide you into a closer alignment with the bigger steps. Don't overthink the steps. Just look at a logical next step, and if you can come up with one, the next step after that. There was a movie I watched years ago, and there was one of the speakers on it that really stuck in my head. When you drive across the country, 2,500 miles, in the United States, I should say, from coast to coast, and you're driving only at night, you're only allowed to drive at night. No, you cannot see your destination, but what you can see is the next 200 yards, and the next 200 yards, because that's where your headlights are. So think about setting these goals as, what are, in my headlight area, what's the next area I can go to? And then as you can progress along, you'll discover a lot of cool stuff happens along these journeys if you don't overthink them. And a lot of the times you may end up where your goal was over here, and you come out over here. You're still on the same energy level of the goals, but the goal has shifted, not negatively, it usually works out better, but you didn't lock yourself into, I only have these steps to take, and you're allowing yourself to have a broader experience, and that actually will enrich you overall in a spiritual sense and an emotional sense. So, like I said, don't overthink the steps. Again, these are just some ideas, and I'm trying to expand my astrology knowledge by doing stuff like this with you guys, for you guys, however you want to look at that. And any tips or suggestions are always welcome. Like I said, I'm still kind of growing in the astrology world. My primary source of interest is in spirituality, as in a lot of the ancient techniques. A lot of the new stuff I'm getting more into it, so I'm understanding it better. But astrology, it's like algebra. Now give me geometry, I got it. You give me astrology, I'm like, eh. So just a little insight into my brain. So there are a couple of things that I do try to use and at least reference, so I have an idea of what I'm doing. And these are 2 of my favorite tools, and I don't have one of them yet. I only have I have one, but not the other. One is Llewellyn. They are a metaphysical, primarily bookshop, but they're a publishing house, I should say. And I have been using their Zodiac calendar for years. I love this thing. The artwork for each month has the different symbols with the signs in it. Matter of fact, let me grab mine off the wall here real quick. You can check that out. Okay, I didn't even think about doing this, but the artwork for each one, is that over here, like, is pretty impressive. And then along the side here, over here, they have the different, the simple horoscopes for each one. But this is December's. It tore up on the wall the other day and fell down, scared the you-know-what out of me. So I had to tape it up, and then it didn't want to come off the wall. So let me untape, and I can show you some of the other pictures. But I try to get them every year just because they are so fascinating. And I've linked it below with a couple of the other books that Llewellyn puts out. There's a daily planetary guide, which I haven't picked that one up yet this year. I've been a little bit busy with other things to sit down and like figure out what else I need for this coming year. But that one's really fun, and it's more of a daily thing, so you can go check it out for day to day, what the planets are doing, who they're arguing with, who's benefited from it. But then but like I said, some of the art, that's probably the biggest reason that I enjoy this calendar, is the artwork in it is so fascinating. And like, so yeah, if you're interested in something that's a little bit more unique. And then in the back of the calendar, and this is the reason it falls off the wall if you're not careful, is they have introduction to astrology. And there's a whole section on what the signs are, what the different meanings are, like conjunction, sextile, square, trine. It's all Greek to me. And then it goes through different moon influences, and then it goes through, if you can see that, the lunar gardening period. And then each day of the calendar tells you different days. Like today, not a good day to plant on, but the 16th was a good day to go fishing. And then you have like the 27th, there's the planting and the fishing, so these are good days to plant on. So you can kind of have an almanac in a calendar, and it's, at a glance, it's handy just to help understand stuff. Like I said, I'm still trying to figure out a lot of the symbols, but it is fun. And like I said, the daily planetary guide is awesome just because it gives you a day-to-day plan out of basically what the planets are doing. And then if you are interested in delving a little bit deeper into this coming year's energy for your sun sign and your moon sign, there's the Llewellyn's sun book and the moon book below. And those go into a lot more detail about you specifically, and there's parts, at least in the older books, I haven't gotten this year's, but in some of the older ones, it goes through, like, if you're a Capricorn, like as your sun sign, what are these different other symbols in different houses and how it affects you specifically. Again, it's written in a broad terms, so you'll have to pick and choose what works for you and what doesn't. But there are some really good resources if you guys are interested in expanding your astrological knowledge. Like I said, I have been pretty dedicated to the wall calendar for a long time because it's helpful, giving me some ideas. And then, as I said, the daily planetary guide is good just because it's a way to understand it a little bit more personally. So if you're interested, check those out below. They are affiliate links, so it does help out the channel, helps keep things above water, so to speak. And then if you're interested in what I actually offer as far as products and services, my website's linked down below as well. And with that, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like on it. If you're enjoying this kind of content and you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Feel free to share this with anyone who you think might benefit from it or might be interested in it. And please comment, and even if it's positive, it's negative, whatever. My big thing is let's just be respectful. I think that's a really important part of life anymore that we've kind of forgotten, especially here on the interwebs. So I hope you have an amazing Friday evening, a great new moon, and Merry Christmas to everybody.